I think it's time to rebrand Twitter. Yeah, Elon, how are those bots coming along? I thought you said you were gonna get rid of those. I still keep getting bots. I don't know about that, but you should subscribe to Twitter Blue. I mean X Blue. That is the new membership. I thought you were gonna update like the monetization features and the video uploader was going to get enhanced and improved. Or no, that matters actually. 720p, just fine, 480p. But we need to rebrand the website. The app, everything is going to now be X.
Why does it need to be X?
Because X is a cool letter. And it's like space X, you know, there's an X in that word.
That stands for space exploration, though, so I kind of get that. But with this, like...
I just so happen to own X.com, so therefore, when people go to X.com, it will forward them to what is now Twitter.
What does the X stand for?
It stands for X. Instead of tweeting, you will now start Xing.
It doesn't make any sense, Elon.
We're going to have X Blue, we're going to have X Music, we're going to have X Movie. Oh, I may have not thought this through.
So, as much as I have stood by Twitter, or X, after all these years, I gotta admit, a lot of the changes they've made are not my favorite. Like, for one, I should mention that I'm not a fan of how Twitter was being managed before Elon took over. They were not profitable, they were losing relevance quickly, and I didn't like the way they handled verification, I didn't like the way the site was set up. There were so many things that shouldn't have been there. But now Elon's taken over, and he's making all new problems, in my opinion. So I'm not really happy with either leadership, like getting rid of the device that the tweet was sent from. I like that feature. That was great. Elon replaced it with From Earth, which is kind of redundant and stupid, and it would be a little bit cool or cutesy if that updated, if like, you know, the Mars Perseverance rover made a tweet and that showed From Mars or something, but it doesn't even do that. So now it's just kind of pointless text on the website, and now they let people tweet like thousands of characters if they want to, which in my opinion kind of defeats the point of Twitter. The beauty of Twitter in the first place was that you had to kind of keep your thoughts and ideas concise and short. Now I have to keep clicking on the show more page all the time because there's so many Twitter Blue users, or sorry, X Blue users that want to tweet things that are like slightly over the limit, so I have to keep clicking show more to see the rest of the tweet. It's so stupid. And I thought the idea of just verifying literally anybody who pays $8 a month was a dumb idea. I'm not in favor of just an elite few having verification like it was before, but I also don't think verification should be a paid feature. I think that should just be anybody who's able to verify via government ID that they are who they say they are. But I honestly think that Elon is mostly just trying to convince more and more people to sign up for Blue, like, oh yeah, we're gonna have rate limits now, or we're gonna limit how many direct messages you can send unless you have Blue, and that's to crack down on the bots, because if you pay for Blue, we know you're a verified user, and you're acting like charging someone $8 a month or $7 a month is the only way to verify them. Like, that's not how other platforms work. You can have a verified user if they just provide some evidence that they are who they say they are. It could be through state-issued ID, it could be through tax info. There's other ways to do verification besides charging someone monthly or annually, but I think for the most part, Elon just wants as many people signing up as possible, so this is the outcome of that. But to give some credit where credit is due, I think the coolest thing to ever happen on Twitter, and honestly kind of makes the whole Elon Musk acquisition worth it in my opinion, is the concept of paying content creators. This is one of the reasons that YouTube is still my favorite website in the world, is because you can literally just broadcast yourself, and people, once they pass a certain threshold and apply for a monetization program, I can have a dream job like this one, and you guys watching my videos help make this dream job a reality. I love that. That's amazing. Like, you just start posting videos, and if they get enough attention, Google starts sending you money. Like, how amazing is that? There's no other site out there that makes it that painfully easy and simple to get your ideas and thoughts out there. It's great for education, like you can self-teach so much now on YouTube, and it's a great way to learn more about products and services. You can see other people that have tried them and reviewed them, and of course the better reviewers typically rise to the top as more people share those videos, and then the content creator who made that video gets reimbursed for it. It's just such a beautiful thing, and I haven't seen it become as easy or as simple on other social media platforms, and now now X, I'm still not getting used to that, but X has actually started paying people who pass a certain threshold of activity. And right now, that threshold is 15 million tweet impressions within a 90-day period, and you have to have over 500 followers. That seems kind of stupid. If you can get that many impressions on your tweet, you definitely have over 500 followers. But for people who reached that threshold, X or Twitter started actually paying those accounts for the ads that were displayed in their replies, and they were actually really decently sized payouts. Like, there were people with around 100,000 followers on Twitter that were able to make like $1,000 and sometimes more depending on how much internet traffic your tweets generated. So I think that's incredible, and they plan on expanding the program more and more. So rivaling YouTube and taking some of their good ideas and trying to implement them on your platform is a great move, and I think that definitely incentivizes content creators to stay there and keep posting there, and of course in return that will encourage viewers and everyday users to stay there because that's where their favorite content creators are. So that's why I've been a lot more active on X lately, I guess, but I gotta admit, this whole rebrand is driving me nuts. Like, it's amazing to me how quickly the site could go from, wow, this is like the best thing they've ever done, this is a great idea, and then just a couple of days later be like, wow, okay, this is the dumbest thing I think they've ever done. Because the whole point, in my opinion, of like buying an existing social media versus starting a whole new one is to maintain that brand recognition. And also, we've understood after years and years of Google Pluses and Facebook slingshots and everything that it's very difficult to get people to move platforms. You may make it as easy as possible like Instagram did with Threads, but if the site isn't perfect, and even if it honestly has more features going for it than its competitors, a lot of people simply will not move because people don't like change. They don't want another app on their home screen, and they want to go back to where they're comfortable. So I think Twitter honestly held a ton of brand recognition. You know, I've been watching movies on my trips, and there's people referencing making tweets in movies that are like 10 years old. And there's logos in artwork and everywhere now that I'm noticing on movie trailers and on bottles and on all kinds of products where companies are, you know, like follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And now all of that is all going to be thrown out and dated. And I know a ton of people that still just refer to Zuckerberg's company as Facebook. They don't want to call it Meta after that huge rebrand. And I was hoping Musk would have kind of learned something from that whole big rebrand, which is that it's kind of annoying and frustrating. But I will even say something nice about Meta, which for me is super rare. At least it kind of made sense for the direction the company was going towards. Like, yeah, okay, they cared more about the metaverse and doing more virtual reality stuff. I don't think it's really going to go that well, but okay, if that's your idea of where the company is headed, then rebranding it to Meta, which honestly carries a lot of nostalgia, and a lot of people use that word in everyday conversation, from a marketing perspective, it is kind of genius to be like, okay, we care about the metaverse, so we're going to rebrand to Meta. You know, it gets annoying when people say, wow, that's Meta, and now it's like, oh crap, I'm referencing this brand now. But whether or not you love or hate Meta, you got to admit, from a marketing perspective, that was a pretty genius move to work their way into more conversation, and also, of course, just to rebrand the company to something they're more passionate and focused on, which is VR stuff. The key to a successful brand recognition and the key to making something iconic and memorable is consistency. It's about not changing it. That's why the Disney logo can be identified as just 3 circles, right? Like, it's not a very creative logo. It's not some like super special, super unique, like, oh, it has double meaning and it means lots of things. No, it was literally just 3 circles that were meant to emulate Mickey Mouse, which no one even really watches or cares about Mickey Mouse. When I say Disney, most of you are probably going to think about, you know, Pixar or Star Wars or Marvel. You don't think about the 3 circles, but yet when you see those 3 circles, because it's been consistent and it's been around for a long time, you've got that brand recognition going for it. Same thing with Apple. They had that one kind of overly complicated logo in the early days, and then they changed it, and they have kept it there for years and years and years, and they have never fluctuated from that Apple logo. But the dumbest thing about this whole rebrand to me is there's just not really any motivation behind it. It literally just kind of stems down to, well, Elon showed up one day and he said he likes the letter X because he keeps naming everything X. So he decided we should rename it to X because he wants Twitter to become the everything app, even though it hasn't become the everything app, and there's a ton of features he's promised that haven't been delivered on. He wants it to become a payment service, he wants it to be a video platform, he wants it to be a podcasting platform, a bunch of stuff that he's promised that still hasn't been delivered on. But instead of working on all of those promises, instead, we're just going to focus on very slowly and painfully rebranding everything, which, by the way, they're doing an incredibly horrible job on right now. Like, for big big brand companies, most of the time, if they do change their logo for Pride Month or whatever, usually it's like all at the same time. Like they update all of their profile pictures, or they update their website, or Meta was even updating like the banners in front of their headquarters as the reveal was happening. Like it's usually all at once, like from this day forward, we will now be referred to as whatever the new name is. But with X, it's like, okay, he starts putting this really lazy, really sloppy X logo on the website, but on the App Store, it's still referred to as Twitter. And on the website, all of the buttons still say tweet. And the most hilarious part about this to me is like Twitter Blue, the membership, was kind of a reference to how, like, you know, the Twitter logo and everything was blue by default. So you pay extra, it's labeled blue. But he rebranded it to X Blue, even though the logo doesn't have any blue emphasis anymore. He's trying to make it all boring and monochrome and just a white X on a black background. So why are we still using the term blue? Like, you're keeping the blue branding but not the Twitter branding? And at least there was like some motivation behind the Facebook rebrand to Meta. Like, okay, we want to focus more on VR stuff. What is this supposed to be? Like, okay, Twitter, I like the metaphor there. I thought like, okay, it's a little cute, it's a little old-fashioned, but it's nostalgia. People know Twitter. People talked about Twitter for decades and referenced it in movies and media. There's logos for it on all kinds of banners and posters everywhere. And it was just meant to emulate that you have to keep things kind of short. You know, you send a tweet. It's just a quick little blurb of an idea, and Twitter is just this like tree full of birds all sharing their thoughts and ideas, tweeting away. And we're throwing all of that out because Elon happens to own X.com, because he bought it back from PayPal and hasn't really done anything with it. And I think his goal was to eventually just copy WeChat in China. And for some reason, he wants to call it X. Again, I don't know why. What's the motivation behind the letter X? Like, you know, it's bad when like the Elon fans have to try their best to defend his decision. Like, honestly, I've seen so many better versions of like a Twitter/X logo put together. And there were several people out there that were trying to provide meaning behind this rebrand that Elon wouldn't provide. They were like, okay, let's make the logo like two conflicting ideas merging together, where you've got all these, you know, 4 different spectrums from the political viewpoint, and they find this fulcrum point in the center of conversation. And because X is supposed to be this digital town square for the world, we're supposed to compromise and come together from all of these different political parties. And I saw random people online coming up with more better excuses or better reasons to rebrand to X, and I was like, okay, maybe I could get behind that, but this is still stupid because the fans are having to come up with it, not the CEO, not the techno king, the guy who's pushing for the rebrand in the first place and doing it very scattered. Like, okay, one day there's an X logo up here. The next day, the Twitter app on the App Store might change. And if you go to X.com, it forwards you to Twitter.com. So it's still gonna take a while before everybody just starts knowing to search X.com instead of Twitter.com. It's just so sloppy. Like, and I wish I could just hear him start talking about what's the point of just rebranding to X? What's the point of throwing out all of this legacy and history and brand recognition that comes from Twitter? And I'm sorry that a lot of people may disagree with me, but I actually tend to side with a lot of what the big valuation like media companies are saying, which is that rebranding Twitter away from a well-known established platform that's already in a ton of people's heads, that loses a lot of the value in the company because it's now just the Elon Musk weird company. And I feel like there's a lot of conversations now that are going to go towards, hey, do you still use Twitter? Are you still tweeting? No, actually, it's not Twitter anymore. Now it has to be called X. Oh, why is it called X? Elon wanted it to be called X. Oh, that's stupid. I've already had about 4 or 5 conversations in my personal life that went about exactly like that. It's such like an ego trip from Elon. It's literally just like, I like this, so it's gonna be that way. No one's questioning it. No one's wondering like, hey, why do we need to rebrand this? Like, even if the rebrand made total sense and they were changing it to some other name, honestly, I've seen so much better ideas from the online community than I've seen from Elon, where they're like, hey, how about instead of X Blue, you should just call it Extra or X Plus or X Premium, or I don't know. There's so many better names or ideas I've seen pitched out there, so many better logos, and none of them are being listened to for the sake of Elon just being like, well, I wanted X to be an everything app, so I just bought Twitter, and now I'm changing the name to whatever I wanted it to be because I guess the letter X looks cool. But again, it just kind of confuses audiences out there. It confuses the market, and it makes people wonder, like, what is this supposed to mean? And it kind of forces everyone to be reminded that, yes, Elon Elon owns the platform, and for many people out there, that's a bad thing. They don't like knowing that the owner is unnecessarily changing the name because he feels like it. And ultimately, even if the rebrand made sense, even if they changed the name or something to, I don't know, something that I guess applied more to whatever the platform is trying to be, I still don't think now is the right time. There's still so many monetization features they have yet to roll out, still so many bugs that they have yet to fix, and like the Twitter for Mac app still hasn't been touched in months, and the GIFs still don't work on my phone anymore. Like if I try to add a GIF to my tweet, it just never sends the tweet and I have to delete it. There's so many things that they should be working on. Rebrand would be so far down at the bottom of my list. If I was in charge of Twitter, I would basically be pushing for, let's not rebrand. That's like why Elon paid so much money for this, is because it is a well-known brand, it's a well-known entity, and we should just try to make that brand better. We shouldn't try to change it and confuse everybody like we are. And the logo they went with is so stupid, by the way. I like logos that have some kind of double meaning to them. I've seen other people out there that have tried to compromise with the man and come up with this X logo that's kind of like a bird flying. There's so many better ways they could have managed this, but honestly, my best advice for how they should have rebranded Twitter is not to. It was fine the way it was, and ultimately I have the mindset of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And there's a lot of things broken at Twitter, but this was not one of them. It was not the logo, it was not the web address, it was not the tweeting vernacular, which Elon says, instead of tweeting now, we're just gonna do Xing. That's stupid, Elon, and I honestly don't expect that to catch on. So I'm hoping that if the internet is more upset about it and more people complain, hopefully they change their mind and decide that rebranding to X was just kind of this dumb idea. But if you disagree with me, please feel free to express it down in the comments below, and I will argue with you. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. This is your AppShape here, and I will see you over on X, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm not giving up on it yet.